I want you guys to thank yourselves, Mexico City, for helping the Foo Fighters continue making music, continue doing the thing we love to do.
Welcome back to Foo's Files, the podcast for fans of the Foo Fighters. It's Dan here. Hope you're all doing well, having a great week. By the time you hear this, it's nearly Thanksgiving, so I just wanted to start by wishing all of our listeners in the US, or anywhere else around the world for that matter, that is going to be celebrating on Thursday, the very best. Have a great Thanksgiving. Speaking of which, holiday season upon us, one of the developments this week is a bit random, but the band dropped a new lyric video for their cover of Run Run Rudolph, which they recorded way back in 2020. But now for some reason they've decided to give us a lyric video. So it's a reminder that there's something decent you can stick on in the background while you're putting your Christmas decorations up, and not all Christmas music is terrible, is it? So there you go. And the other bit of news this week is that they've added another festival date. They're playing Pinkpop in the Netherlands, topping the bill alongside The Cure and 21 Pilots. So that's in June, and that calendar really is filling up now for next summer, isn't it? So another one to look forward to. But this week we're going to jump back a couple of weeks to when the band were over in Mexico for the Corona Capital shows. And we actually rounded up a bit of a crew that were there for the shows in Mexico City and Monterrey. So it's another group calling episode, a long one, but the guys really did paint a great picture of what those shows were like. So we had Jeremy from Vancouver, Terry from Chicago, Mike from California, Kim, Steve and Nick from here in the UK, and then two local fans too, Ari and Miri, brother and sister from Mexico itself, who are going to tell us what it was like when the Foo Fighters came to their home country. So let's bring them in to hear all about it.
Damn, light them up! Let me look at the people! Hey, there you are! Hi! Hola! Ladies and gentlemen, it's a beautiful fucking night.
Welcome to the podcast, everyone. We said we would do a roundup of the Mexico shows, so we've got a little Foo crew together, who I gather most of you met at the shows, and some of you knew each other before. We've got some familiar faces to the podcast, some new ones as well. So welcome. We had the Monterrey show first, and I believe before that there's a couple of you on here that actually met in the passport queue, which is even earlier than a lot of the meetups take place. So yeah, who wants to kick us off and tell us about their experience?
Well, seeing as Jeremy's new to the Foo crew, we'll let him go first.
Yeah, that seems only fair. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Well, I did meet everybody. I met Kim in the passport line coming into the show, coming into Mexico. So it was kind of neat. We got through there, and then we split up at the airport, and I didn't know if I'd ever see these people again. Like, you're going to a concert, you have no idea, right? So luckily the next day I went early and met everybody that's here online. And it was kind of neat because at that point, everybody was getting ready and setting up lineups and stuff like that. So I went and got a number 12 on my hand, and I wasn't sure what the numbers were for or what the whole situation was. So ended up leaving and going to get some tacos down at a place by my hotel. And I had a big taco, huge lunch, like big, huge platter. It was like 400 pesos or something like that. And I was stuffed. And I came back, and then the lineups were starting to move around. So I just jumped in my line, my number 12 spot. And then we walked around the stadium, and we eventually ended up going in. We went to 3 different doors before we finally went in. And then we were as we were going in, I got my ticket scanned, and she goes like, "Oh, you don't have the right ticket for this line." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "This is only for people on the floor, right?" I'm like, "Well, I didn't know. I just thought this is the lineup to get in early." So I said, you already scanned my ticket. So I said it. She says, you got to go around to the other gate. I said, if I go around there, it'll show me as already haven't been scanned. So I'm not going to
Yeah.
get in. So I said, I'm just going to stay here till we get through the doors. Then I'll go to my properly assigned seat in my broken Spanish. And then, so they agreed to let me do that. And then as we were going in, everybody had their armbands on and whatever. There was like quite a bit of security in place around, and everybody was kind of moving fast. So I just went with the flow and ended up down on the floor. So I took advantage of my first opportunity to be up on the rail. So with these guys.
Was that your first Foos show on the rail
Yeah.
at Monterrey City?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, dude, you got a hell of a show.
And that's why that's all I was saying, is that I didn't realize there was people that did this all the time, right? Because I just thought my ticket was up on the side. So in any case, I didn't have the armband, so I knew that as soon as I had to go take a pee, that the gig would be up because I wouldn't get back down.
Right.
So I only stayed down for the first act, and then I went to my seat on the side. And I was thinking about you guys down at the front row the whole time I was up on the side enjoying the show. So I was like, yeah, now next time I know I'll buy a ticket down on the floor and go early and hang out with everybody. So that was my experience, and quite a good time, because all the time when I go to these shows, people think I'm nuts because I'm traveling by myself, and I try to get people to come with me from Vancouver, but everybody's like, what are you, crazy? Like, you're going to like the Philippines or something like that, right? Like to see a concert. I'm like, yeah, like let's go. And nobody ever takes me up on it. But now I know that when I get there, I can meet other like-minded people like me. So
I always say, no matter where you go in the world to watch a Foo Fighters show, you will always for sure know someone on the rail. That's what's so amazing.
Sure.
There's always at least one of us, usually more, there.
Mm. You're never alone at a food gig. Especially from the groups. If you know active member of some of the groups, you know all the names. So, I've seen Terry in all the groups and everything, but we finally got to meet for the first time in Mexico, which was great, and that. So and as Terry said, that's what's the fun, half the fun of going to these shows. Thanks to Foos, we've been to so many places we wouldn't have gone. I mean, who thought we'd ever go to Mexico, especially Mexico cities? Lots of friends from the UK have been to resorts and things, but and when we first mooted going there, people go, oh, you want to go to Mexico City? Always a bit more. And then one of my friends who's a very avid traveler go, oh, go, it'd be great, hang out and everything. So yeah, and it was great, and I'm so glad we went. It was a bit of a last minute decision for us. We only decided when we were in Singapore, seeing them.
Yeah, but a few weeks before.
Yeah, and we'd had some bad news about some friends, not good health news, and we thought, you only live once and all that, and do you fancy going to Mexico? And we said, yep. And then whilst we were doing our road trip around California after the Singapore show, we got down and booked everything. So yeah, that's how we ended up there, and I'm so glad we went. It was so much fun. One of the best food trips we've done, and especially hanging out with all these guys as well.
That's right.
Yeah, you've done nearly every continent now, haven't you? You just need them to play in Africa or whatever.
I haven't done Africa yet. No, we're working our way. Not done South America yet.
Oh, of course, yeah, sure.
Maybe one day.
Yeah, we've got some local fans on from Mexico, sort of. Also, Miri and Ariel, do you want to tell us about what it was like for you guys to get to see them in your home country?
Okay, for us, it's really exciting to see the Foo Fighters like headlining the Corona Capital. First was the first show they announced in Mexico before Taylor's death. So the second the announcement came, my sister called me, Miri called me, and she was like, dude, the Foo Fighters are coming. I was in the middle of seeing a patient in the hospital. So I was like, I started screaming, and the doctor next to me was like, dude, what happened? And I showed him the lineup, and he was like, dude, the Foo Fighters are coming. You have to go. So it was so exciting for us. And then, well, the first experience we had with the Foo crew, it was a couple of years before we went to Tahoe for a show. I met some people who were at the 606 group in Facebook, and then we ended up meeting this community, amazing community of people. And and since then we've been messaging with some people at the comments and some DMs and whatever. And whenever they announced the Monterrey show and the Mexico City show, like we ended up talking and making posts like who's going to see if we can meet each other up before the shows. And the day before the show in Monterrey, we ended up meeting up in one of the hotels some of them were staying. And it's funny because it was like we knew the people from before at the comments, but to meet each other for the first time, like in person, was amazing. We ended up talking for an hour about music, and the next day, some people texted us at 7 a.m. like, "There's 100 people in line. You have to come in right now." Ended up being security getting into the venue.
It's on a college campus, so
And
we
we ended
thought
up.
we weren't gonna be able to.
Yeah.
So all of the sudden, my brother just runs to my bed, wakes me up, and he goes like, "There's people in line. Get your ass up right now!" And we just ran to the venue, and we ended up hanging out there all morning. We took a walk. We went for lunch. It was really nice, and there were some of the 606ers who had the early pass for the pit, and they saved us. I mean, we're super grateful. You guys saved us spots because
Shout
they.
out to Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a group
Yeah.
effort from everybody
Nick and
involved.
Kelly.
Everybody. Hmm.
It's always a group effort, guys. We always
And
always about the group.
Yeah.
it was amazing meeting these people, and also some crazy things happened at the line because it was the fast pass line. The people who went in before, like Nick and Terry and the Hearns, and then for us mortals who didn't get those tickets, we had to make another line, and ended up being two lines because some people were at gate 2, some people were at gate 3, and they just started messing around with the lines, the people from security there. So they sent us around the stadium to the other to the other side, and there was two lines, and people were fighting who's going first and whatever. And we ended up like talking, and we were like, okay, we all want to get in like into the front, like we're gonna be civil about it, and people want to see the Foo Fighters together. And it ended up being an amazing experience because a lot of people who didn't meet before or from the group, like we ended up meeting up there and talking, and it was amazing. The first show was really good, actually. I really liked her. Queens, I'm gonna let my sister speak because she has an amazing experience there, and I'm gonna look for some full things.
Yeah. So we went to the show with a friend of Ari's, and it was her first Foo show. So we tell her she had the best experience because we ended up in like right on the center, right on the rail, and it was so much fun. So for Queens of the Stone Age, actually the reason why we went to Monterrey, it's because we wanted to see Queens of the Stone Age too, because here we were gonna see the Foo Fighters in the festival, and they were like one right after the other, and we didn't want to miss it. So we went to Monterrey to get on the rail and to see Queens of the Stone Age. And it was so fun because we were all plotting in the rail, talking about Josh taking, inviting Dave on stage and playing. So we were all waiting for that. It didn't happen. I don't think it'll ever happen, but it didn't.
I think it will happen once. I'm holding out hope. I'm holding out.
I hope it does. But I don't know. That was the
We
best
all
of-
do.
Yeah. I don't know. So that didn't happen. But Josh, I mean, everyone basically, we were all having such a good time in the rail. All of the bands, they were just like goofing around with us all of the time, pointing at us. We were all jumping, singing together. And it was just such a personal experience because, like, on the festivals, it's a bigger crowd, it's a bit more overstimulating for them. So Monterrey being such a smaller show, they were like really invested in looking at everyone and pointing at everyone and taking like their time while playing to make it a bit more personal than just like playing to the big crowd and playing to the festival, So I think that was beautiful. like the personal connection the people in the rail got, because in Tahoe, Dave was like a bit distracted. I don't know. It was the first tour after Taylor's death. So I think that was a bit of a shock on him, but he wasn't really looking at anyone or interacting. And Monterrey just felt, you could feel the connection between everyone, and it was such a beautiful moment. And we had so much fun together. And while the songs were playing, we would look at each other like from across the rail, just smiling with all the surprises and the deep cuts and everything. It was just amazing.
Can I ask, what do you think the capacity was for Monterrey then? Because you mentioned it was a bit smaller, but I mean, I watched it on the live stream, and you sort of see the stage, and then you get the occasional like wide shot of the crowd, and it still looked massive from.
I thought it was about 10,000. I read. Because there have been some previous concerts this year, and I think the capacity study was about between 10 and 11,000. It was a very small stadium. It's just like a UK footy stadium. But yeah, as Mary was saying, it felt a lot more intimate than certainly the big festival stage.
Dan, I would like to
Also
ask.
in Mexico. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just wondering, since you watched it while it was streaming, were you able to see the energy from the crowd? Like, they blew away any show I've been. The crowd, they were so amazing, so into it. It was just, we were all saying that afterwards, that the crowds in Mexico, it was just amazing. Every single word of every single song, top of their lungs, they were screaming. It was unreal. Not like anything I've ever been to. And I've been to so many shows. But could you see that when you were watching, Dan?
Not so much during the songs, but because I said you only got the sound mix wasn't perfect, and you got the occasional crowd shot, but between songs, you could hear the reaction, at the end of a song. And then when Dave was, I didn't catch the whole thing because of the time difference, but I saw probably the second half of it. And certainly between songs, and especially when Dave was doing his thing and entertaining the crowd, and it definitely came across as been pretty raucous. So
it's so good.
Yeah.
I think what Miri was referring to, this was like a more intimate show. It was that last time we saw them in Mexico City, it was almost 60,000 people, like a really big venue. And then the Corona capital, there was 130,000 people there. So like for being less than 20,000 on this venue felt like a small show compared to the others we've been. And for us, well, for me also, it was a religious experience per se. And it was a fun experience. And also Nick got, well, in a way, Queen's drumstick, and then got it stolen, and then good karma hit on him. Like, tell that story, man.
Yeah, so hello to everybody. I think I know everybody here except for Dan, the host. Not sure that we've ever met in a line. But yeah, I've traveled to quite a few Foo shows now. I started railing it after the tribute concerts in the UK and LA. I was just very much of the impression I want to make the absolute most of these experiences, because prior to that, I would always be one of the guys that just goes in with a VIP ticket 5 minutes before the start of the show, watches the show, and then quietly toodles off as soon as it's ended and tries to beat all the traffic. But since the tribute concerts, I decided that there was far more to the experience than just that. And so over time, I've gotten familiar with all the Facebook groups, the 606 Club, and made loads of amazing friends there. And I've been working on a project in Weymouth in the UK for the last 12 months, which just so happened to finish on the Monday, I think Monday the 10th of November. And the Monterrey show was like the 12th of November. So I was like, well, it would be the perfect way to celebrate the end of the last year that I've had by going to attend those Mexico shows. And I think the festival had been promoted before the actual headline show in Monterrey. So I wasn't too sure about just going to the festival, but as soon as the headline show was announced, that was my one-way ticket to Monterrey secured. And yeah, just like Mary and Harry and Terry, it was a blast. It was absolutely incredible. My day started very much in the same way as the twins. I got a message about 6:45 to say there was 100 people on the line. So I also fleed out of my hotel room in basically my pajamas and sprinted to the line. And then I got another message a few moments later saying that it was security and a false alarm. But I'm always happy to have false alarms like that. And it was an amazing start to the morning. We had an amazing time in the queue. Just even like I've stood in lines and queues around the world, and I must say that the atmosphere in Monterrey specifically was just incredible. Like everybody was so helpful, everybody was so friendly. I think the merch team, they were there at 10 a.m. and they had everything set up and they were selling merch from 10 a.m., which breaks up the day a bit when you're waiting for things to happen. It's nice to have things happening quite quickly. And then we went into the show, and all of the formation going into the venue was amazing. We all kept in sort of number order. There was, I mean, people ran for the last 10 yards, but generally speaking, it was one of the best entries that I've ever had into a show. We all got exactly the places that we wanted on the rail. I was delighted to be able to save a place for the twins because honestly, without Mary and Ari, I think our day probably would have gone a little bit differently. It was fantastic to have some really friendly, nice Spanish or Mexican speaking people with us that could help us fill in a few of the language barriers along the way. But for the most part, there were no language barriers and we managed to successfully navigate through all of the obstacles that were in our way. And then the shows were just incredible. Jenny Beth, not witnessed her before, didn't know anything about her, really enjoyed her set. Queens of the Stone Age, I mean, for me, Foos and Queens are doing this all the time, depending on my mood. So I was, I think, almost as excited to see the Queens as I was to see the Foos, and their set. Their set was incredible. I've done quite a lot of Queens gigs, particularly on this tour, and usually they always set the stage up so that they have John the drummer sort of slightly off center of the stage and usually right behind the smoke machine. So generally speaking, for most of the Queen shows, the guy that I want to fixate on, the drummer, is usually behind a mountain of smoke and you can't really see anything other than sticks flying everywhere every once in a while. But at Monterrey, he was front center and thankfully for me, not behind a smoke machine. So I got 2 hours of just fixating between Mikey, John and Josh, which was incredible. I did manage to grab my first ever drumstick. I managed to catch that right and center, perfectly in the middle, right next to Harry, who was I think he was standing the other side of me. And as I grabbed the drumstick, these two other guys to my right, they also sort of grabbed hold of it as well. It turned into a bit of tug and war. And one of the hands that was on my stick belonged to a younger lad. He was probably 16 or 17. And I thought, well, there's no way don't want to steal a stick from him. And for me, the precious thing was being seen, having the stick thrown to me and catching the stick. That was the precious thing. Now I've got the stick. It's just a drumstick. It doesn't really mean all that much to me. It might mean a lot more to the person that's desperate for it next to me. So in the end, I let my drumstick go. And then we came up with an idea for a trade, which was that if I was able to get a Foo Fighters guitar pick, that they would swap me my drumstick for a guitar pick. And at the end of the Foos gig, thankfully, I think Ari managed to grab hold of a pick, which he passed on to me.
I got a new pick. Yeah.
And I passed it on to Trade, and the guy, I said, we'll do the pick for the stick. And the guy, yeah. And the guy held out his hand, and I put the pick in it, and he closed his hand, shook my other hand, and before I'd even realised what was going on, he'd turned his back and he was making it out of the stadium. A very happy man with both a pick and a stick. So he was absolutely delighted. But the show in itself, the Monterrey show, it was phenomenal. The crowd, the connection between artist and crowd was one of the strongest that I've had in all shows. I would say that probably rivaled the connection between artist and fans that was present at the tribute concerts. It was very much like you were so, I don't know what it was. We weren't that close to the stage. I mean, we were pretty close, but it wasn't the closest I've ever been to the Foos since. But the connection just felt so authentic, and it was also just so intense. The eye contact and the crowd interaction, and everybody knew all the words to all the songs, and everybody screamed and shouted and danced, and it was amazing. I had the absolute best time. I was stood next to Ari on one side, and then I had my friend Kelly on the other side of me. And I kind of had expected Kelly to get a little bit emotional because I stood with her at previous shows. So I know sometimes she can do with a little bit of support, and I was honoured to be stood next to her to provide that. But I hadn't expected to burst into tears on several occasions myself. I hadn't expected that. But when you're in that environment with those people and you all come together for that same reason, and you look down the line and everybody's singing with you, everybody's there for the same reason, it was incredibly emotional. They played Asking for a Friend in Monterrey, which I've never gotten to debut a live song before, so it felt extra special to hear that played for the first time live. They also played Exhausted, which is like the grail song for me that I never thought I would get to hear, and I just broke down bawling my eyes out when they started playing that. And we just had a blast. It was absolutely, from all of the shows that I've been to, I mean, I have one show for me that will always be number one, but that was in my top 3 nights of all time.
Yeah, it certainly was a really special show. As you said, Nick, we weren't super close to the stage.
No.
Not close to, say, like last year's tour. But I think the atmosphere of the venue, and although the stage wasn't like super high, not like Singapore and Indonesia, they were very high stages. We did feel a bit more of a connection. So, and as Nick said, hearing Asking for a Friend was absolutely wonderful. Took me, because they went from Hey Johnny Park into the new song. It was something like oh.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And I thought, oh heck, I better record this, for posterity. So that was absolutely wonderful, and it sounds so good live. It really does. And it's a real big song and sing along.
That's the first time we've ever tried that live. All right, let's do one more. No, let's do 2 more.
And I guess for us, the other highlight was Dave spotting us in the crowd and saying, there's a bit where he goes, "Hi guys."
Yeah.
So that was for us because we, as some of you may know, we had the pleasure of meeting the man a few weeks ago, and we said that we were coming to Mexico. So it was nice that he hadn't forgotten us. It was for 4 weeks. So yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. Really loved. Great.
Do you want to quickly explain to people who are listening who won't know how you came to meet him in LA a few weeks?
Yes, well, the gala dinner was advertised, and I thought, oh, we're going to be in LA then, and we were on a road trip, and I was trying to get back to LA on the 18th because the B-52s were playing at the Hollywood Bowl. And I thought, oh, I'd love to go and see those. Go and see them. It's probably the last time they'll tour and everything. So we planned the trip to get back for the 17th. And then this gala dinner popped up, and I thought, oh, okay, we're there. But then I looked at the cost of the tickets. It's not cheap. And then I thought, oh, is it a bit odd going as a fan, and that. Anyway, when we were in Singapore, our enablers, Amy, Linda, and Jill.
Is that what we call them now? Enablers.
Enablers, yeah. And also our dear friend Cheryl, who's been on the podcast a few times. They're all going, you're in LA, just for a few days. You've got to go. So I broached it with Steve and said, my Christmas present for the next 10 years. Anyway, so Kelly and Cindy were going. So I thought, oh, okay, well, we've got friends that we can go with, and that'll be nice. We can make a foursome. So we went, and it was a very casual dinner. I thought it was going to be a big sit down thing, but it was very casual in one of the rooms at the bar lounges in BMO. And as we walked in, we spotted Dave, but he was like whisked away. And then halfway through the evening, we went outside onto the field. They set up a small stage, and they gave him the presentation, and he did a really lovely speech. And there were so many heartbreaking stories from people that the mission had helped, the Hope Mission. So it was absolutely amazing hearing all those stories, and the work that goes on behind the scenes that people never really get to hear about. Absolutely amazing. So we came back in, and Dave was standing by the VIP room talking to some people. So we just kind of hung around, and we eventually got our turn. And Cindy managed to say what she wanted to say. I got as far as hello. And then somebody whisked him away. So we asked for a quick pic. So the four girls and him, three girls and us got the picture. Steve had to be the photographer. And I would have been happy with that. Got to say hello. And then there was an after party upstairs, and a lot of people had gone home by then. So we went upstairs. We had a chat with Wiley from Chevy Metal, who's absolute sweetheart of a guy. Spent about 20 minutes talking to him.
Yeah.
And then Dave and the rest, so Pat, Nate and Ilan were there. And they appeared, and Dave was just standing by the bar, and as usual, lots of people came up to speak to him. And of course, me being the polite Brit, just hung around and waited. Think, am I going to get another turn? Anyway, he eventually became clear, and then I was standing there thinking, oh my God, what am I going to say? How am I going to open this? So, so I got a few minutes, and I just said, well, just thank you so much for the wonderful music, because it becoming a Foo fan did change my life, because I wouldn't have been doing this and going on crazy capers to Mexico and wherever if it wasn't for the music. And then he spotted Steve's beard, so had a bit of a beard discussion.
Well, it's one way to get recognised in a crowd.
And then
The nice thing about when you're chatting to him, we wondered what we would say, but when you actually get to chat to him, he's so focused on the person he's talking to. He's not being distracted by anything that's going on around. So it makes it very easy to talk to him. And he was really gracious with his time.
Lovely. And so we said we're going to Mexico, and he went, oh. So he told us a little secret about the new single and the tour coming up. So we kept our promise. We didn't say anything to anyone. And then we got a picture, and then Kelly got a picture with him, and so we had a few minutes. It was absolutely great. So
And then fast forward a couple of weeks, and he spots you on the barrier again. Yeah.
well, he was spotting us last year because he pointed out Steve's beard in Cardiff, and pointed, nudged Pat, and then of course there was the famous picture at the end of Cardiff. So he may have been shown that on my Insta, and then in the States he did acknowledge us every show that we did in the States, didn't we? So he does seem to remember people.
Yeah.
So yes, it was lovely.
I've got some work to do on my facial hair then before Liverpool next June. Yeah, so yeah, just sort of lastly on the Monterrey show, and you kind of a couple of you alluded to it. I think you got the best set list that they've done this year so far.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was incredible. I remember standing on the rail and seeing the roadies come out and take the set list down onto the stage, and I couldn't see what was on it, but I just saw that this set list was just a ginormous. And I said to Kelly next to me, I said, that set list's massive. It's like the whole page. And yeah, I mean, we got Hey Johnny Park, White Limo, Stacked Actors, Exhausted, Shane, just like all of my favourites into one. It was the first time that I'd seen the Foos since Seattle on the last tour, and that show didn't end like I'd wanted it to, for me, for personal reasons for myself. But Monterrey, it just blew everything out of the water. I just hadn't expected the crowd to be what they were, even for the new track. I would imagine that there's probably quite a few Foo Fighter fans all over the world that may, for whatever reasons themselves as well, possibly still not listen to the new single. I remember when the But Here We Are album came out, it took me quite a while to build up the courage to actually sit down and put that on. And I can't help myself now, but anytime the Foos release new music, it takes me a while to pluck up the courage to just go, okay, well, what's Dave got to say to us now? what's on the agenda for this song? So, but every single fan knew all of the words, even to the new one. We met this guy, I can't remember his name. It was either Jesus or Juan, and he was there walking around from about 8 a.m. On the morning of Monterrey, and he's a Mexican national, and he'd been to loads of shows, and he'd saw Linkin Park a couple of times, I think, at that venue as well. And he was just, he was just the epitome of the Mexico spirit, because that guy, he stood there all day. He waited with us. He was really kind, really polite, sort of kept himself to himself, but he was a massive guy. And all he wanted to do was be at the front, watch his band, sing to the songs, and just embrace the whole night. And that's what he did. I saw him at Monterrey, and he was also at Mexico City, and it was it. That crowd support, that really made it. It was phenomenal. I do have a little side story to that show as well, which meant an awful lot to me. Was that we hung around after the show in the vain hope of getting a set list or anything like that, which didn't unfortunately come to light for me. But just as we were leaving the rail and about to head up the stairs to exit the stadium, a runner came out from behind the scenes and came over to me, and they said, "Oh, we really like your t-shirt," because I was wearing my Taylor Hawkins tribute concert. They said, "We really like your t-shirt, and we've watched your night. You've had an absolute blast." And he opened up my hand and put 2 of the used Dave Grohl guitar picks in it from that night's set, and that to me was just, that was incredible. I would cherish those for a long time. I gave one to my friend Kelly, but I kept the other one for myself. And those are the moments for me. I'm a firm believer in karma, and what goes around comes around. And if it's meant to be, then it's meant to be. And if it isn't, then it isn't. That's very much how I approach all of these types of trips and tours that I do. Because generally speaking, I'm a massive planner, and I'll plan every aspect of everything. And I didn't do that when I went to the LA tribute show, and that was the trip of my life. And so every other Foo show that I've done since then, I like to try and carry on that. It will just be whatever will be, and it will work itself out. And so having lost the drumstick and the pick, I kind of felt that were maybe the gods shining down on me a little bit to say, oh, there you go, you were seen, and there you go. So yeah, it was phenomenal. We got a taxi back from the place, which was super easy to organize, and I was back enjoying room service, I think, within about an hour after the show ended, which was a fantastic way to end the night. And then the next day we flew on to Mexico City, and we got to the airport, and we walked in directly into the airport to do all the customs and everything. And I looked around to my left, and I noticed this guy, and I was with Kelly again, and I said, God, that guy's awfully familiar. I know I've seen his face 1,000 times. And Kelly was the one who instantly said, oh, that's Dave's guitar tech. And so having seen him 100 times in front of me on stage sound checking, both me and Kelly went over and introduced ourselves to him, and we were also handed more guitar picks, which was incredible. And then I turned around and I recognized Jeff, who's Nate's sound guy. And I've known Jeff from the LA tribute show, and I've met him at loads of other shows since. So I had a good chat with him as well. And then we slowly realized, like, the whole airport and our flight particularly was literally just made up of Foo fans and the actual Foo crew. I mean, everybody was there, barring the Foo Fighters, but everybody else was there. And then when we boarded the plane, I turned into business class, and the whole of the Queens of the Stone Age was sitting on the front row, barring Josh, who had flown with Dave. And so I just walked onto the plane, and I was like, oh my God, what are you guys doing here? Shook everybody's hand, managed to actually speak to John and thank him for fucking incredible show, and thank him for the drumstick, which I'll cherish forever, but virtually. And then I managed to get I did the selfie thing, even though I'm not a selfie person. I had to, so I managed to get a photo, and it was just, those are the things that on these trips and on these tours, for me, it just always seems to work itself out. I had no plans. I would take no credit for any of all of these coincidences that happened to me, because I just followed somebody else's travel itinerary. Kelly came up with the plan, and I just said, well, I'm just going to follow you. So let me know what flights to book, and let me know what hotels we need to book, and I'll follow you. But following Kelly and the rest of the group always seems to work wonders for me. So I would suggest to any new listener who might be slightly apprehensive about going to their first show, or even people that have been to loads of shows and want to experience the rail for the first time. I was always very apprehensive about doing the rail, and how can I manage it? How can I manage the queues, and how can I queue up for all this time, and what do I do about the toilet and all of that? But with this group, the Foo Fighters, and in particular the Club 606 members, you'll find us at the show. We'll be the first people there. Come over, say hello. We always look out for each other, and you'll have the time of your life. And if you follow us for long enough, magical things do end up happening. So come to the show, and you might have an absolute blast, because so far every show that I've been to has been amazing. Yeah.
Brilliant. Mike, did you have your hand up a few minutes ago? Were you going to come in with something, or were you just waving your...
I just like pointing at myself. But no, I just wanted to say real quickly, because everybody's done a great job of this, but it's so funny how, like, the connections that you make, and Nick has mentioned, but like, I've known Kim and Steve now for a few years. And we met in the UK, but have been talking online. I've been talking to Terry online, I think, for a couple of years. And Miriam, I didn't even remember, because we got introduced as Miriam so the other thing I wanted to mention was that we went to dinner the night before the show. And that was, for me, that was almost, I mean, I love the Foos more than anything. But to me, the dinner with everybody and the meetup that we had before was almost as good as a show, because I got to really talk to everybody. Unfortunately, Jeremy wasn't there, but hopefully he'll be at the next one. But Kelly helped organize it, and she's awesome. I got to meet her in Glendale for the first time, so that was cool. But Miri and I had talked a couple of years ago and didn't even remember. And then after we talked, I had added Miri on Facebook, and I was like, oh shit, we talked 2 years ago. This is awesome. But yeah, that was just a fun time, and everybody kind of talking. The one thing I wanted to do at the table, we just kind of ran out of time, was that I kind of wanted to just go around the room and say, hey, what's your favorite Foo song? Or just kind of talk about, like, what we love. And because that's really what it's about. I mean, for me, like Nick said, this is one of my favorite shows of all time, not only because of the show. Any show where they play stacked actors in Arlandria is automatically in my like top 5. But there's been a few of those, so it's getting extended. But man, it's so funny because I wasn't expecting it, but it's like, we've just all connected, and these folks are, this is like, it's the family, right? Like it's the Foo family, and I love all these guys, and I'm excited to see them again. And they kind of convinced me I'm doing GA for the shows I'm going to in Europe next year. But we'll see how that goes. I might be in the back of the GA, but that, like, when they were talking about the energy of the fans in Mexico, I do have to say, just from my experience, I was about two sections over from the on the side in the stands, kind of probably around where Jeremy was, but maybe opposite or whatever. But man, there were 3 guys in front of me that might have drank all the beer that they had. It was amazing, and they talked the entire show. Luckily, the row I was in, there was about, for some reason, like 8 extra seats. So I moved way over. A guy next on the other side goes, "Hey, come down here," and I was able to get a better perspective on the show. But yeah, the crowd overall was great, and I mean, to see "Asking for a Friend" was amazing, because I do love that song a lot. And the funny thing is that I'd been to the 2 previous shows, Bakersfield and Glendale, and it was on the original set list of both of those shows, and they didn't play it. I was like, man, I know they're gonna go play it in Mexico City, because I wasn't going to that show. But overall, anyway, I don't want to take any more time. But I just love all you guys, and I'm excited to see you next year. Hopefully there's a pop-up somewhere that we could get together too.
That would be good.
Well, California, it's like, hey, come on up north. I've said this before. I think, Dan, last time we talked, I said, the first tour they ever did in '95, they were supposed to play Sacramento in May. It was, even before the album came out, and Dave got sick, and they canceled the Sacramento show and the Santa Cruz show. So they owe us 2 shows, man. I'm adamant about that. So get this out there. Kim, you should have told him when you saw him at that event, we need a show in Sacramento in a small club.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's get it out there then.
Now, some of you may know this. Some of you may not. But Mexico City holds a really, really special place in the history of the Foo Fighters. It really does. I don't know if you remember, it was maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago. We came down to play a couple shows here. And it was those shows in Mexico City that helped us make our Sonic Highways TV series and record possible. So I want you guys to thank yourselves, Mexico City, for helping the Foo Fighters continue making music, continue doing the thing we love to do. If it weren't for you, I don't know if we'd be here right now.
Should we do a bit on Mexico City then? Because you've given us a great sort of flavour of what Monterrey was like. I suppose this is a different vibe because it's a festival, right? So you've got a lot of bands on throughout the day, and it's probably a bit more condensed and everything. So do you want to sort of
Most of it, Ari and Miri were in GA, but they managed to get a fairly good spot. The rest of us were all we splashed out on the VIP tickets. So we'd all done that on the basis of last year's map and photos. And of course, they changed the layout this year, didn't they? So when we got there, the VIP section, which was attached to this Club Corona thing, which included food and drink and special viewing areas. Yes, it'll been pulled back from almost center stage right back to just about the beginning of the stage, so not even as far as Shifty. And so we actually all felt a little bit, a little bit further down. So Ari had said, "Oh, people are clear out once Queens are on. They'll go down and see them and maybe nip round to GA." But no, the fans weren't budging from their spot.
No.
So we all decided to stay where we were.
Or at least we were on the rail.
And
just
we were on the rail.
bit set a bit to the side.
Yeah, that was the only thing.
Well, Dave still found,
It was still a good spot, and we got the corner, so we took turns in holding the corner all day. I think, it was a bit of a shame that Queens finished as Foo started. So Nick did pop down for about 6 songs of Queens at the beginning.
Yeah.
But the rest of us, we didn't really want to lose our corner.
Well, we moved once because we wanted to
Yeah.
go and see Garbage on another stage. So people held our spots for us, and which was great. And so we nipped out, saw Garbage, and then got back.
Yeah.
At least getting back into the VIP area was quite easy, wasn't it?
Yeah, the VIP area did clear out in between bands, didn't they?
So we managed to get back.
Yeah. But having the shuttle bus was good.
I didn't find a shuttle bus.
They got back and we said, "Oh, did you come up on the shuttle?" You're going, "What shuttle?"
No, I couldn't find a shuttle bus. I asked about
Anyway, it worked for us.
bus, and I couldn't find it.
It worked for us, so it was good. So I guess that was only the little bit of disappointing thing. Having changed the VIP area. But it was still a great show. Obviously, as we spoke before, not quite the connection that we had in Monterrey. So, but it was a great show, and the crowd were amazing. And you look at, I've seen some aerial views of the crowd since then, and like, oh my god, like, I'm glad we weren't at the back of that.
I was just happy to be with all of you guys because all of the fans or all of us have our side. So they are all Pat's side. I'm the lone Shifty side. So in Monterrey, I was by myself and they were all on that side. So thankfully the VIP area was basically Shifty side. So I was able to be with everybody. So that I was happy that you guys were on the Shifty side for that.
For us, sorry, I'm gonna say a couple of things and then I have to go back to work. But I remember Nick was talking to Kelly after the Monterrey show, saying like the crowd was crazy, it was amazing, and I told them like, if you think Monterrey was crazy, wait to Mexico City because there's gonna be 100,000 people there, and every good song they're gonna start throwing beer and jumping around, and like you heard more the screams than Dave's. It was crazy. For Miri and I, we went to GA for the festival in Mexico City. We came in as the gates just opened, and we just ran to the stage and stayed next to the VIP section so we could be next to these amazing people that we've met to spend another day together. I remember when I saw them walking, like some of them had a beer in hand, and some of them like just ran to. We just hugged each other, like it was so good to see each other. Not because we haven't seen each other in a long time, because we went to have dinner the day before. and we saw all the headlining shows at that stage. I didn't move stage because I was in GA. I didn't want to lose my spot. But every time someone left to the bathroom or whatever to the VIP section, they brought me beers and they brought me water and they brought us food. Like that was amazing for us, and thank you for that.
Hey, hello.
Really, thank you.
I think you had a fantastic VIP experience.
It was, and I also remember one thing from Jet. Someone, like the singer, said, "Who's from Australia?" And everybody started pointing at Steve, and it was like, "Yeah, I am from Australia." And the guy from the beard, yeah, well, this song is for you. And he ended up singing "It's a Long Way to the Top If You Want to Rock and Roll," like to him, and it was an amazing time. The Kaiser Chiefs was amazing. France, it was a big party. It was crazy. And the moment we've been waiting for the Fools, it was like some people from Mexico with Taylor shirts and Taylor banners and whatever. We were all together. I don't know how it ended up happening, but it was fun. And the people who knew every song from the set in Mexico City, it was like us and some other people who were standing there with us. So they've just pointed like, "I like this side better," and pointed at us. It wasn't, for me, it wasn't that special, the Mexico City song show, as the Monterrey show, because for me, times like this, it's a song that I have tattooed in my arm. It saved my life in some way. I know everyone here has a song like that from the Foos. And in Monterrey, Dave sang that song to me. And Nick was there hugging me the whole time while I was crying. And then in Mexico City, we couldn't be as forward as we were in Monterrey. And like, I think Dave was a little bit more with the band than with the crowd. It was an amazing show, but it was so different one to another. For me, the special part from Mexico City, it was that I could share it with these people. The full crew that adopted us a couple of years ago, and still meeting people. And that was the best part for me, meeting everyone who's here. And hopefully meeting you then soon.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Yeah, hopefully one day. Yeah, you.
If I could just
go
chip
for it.
in with my highlights from that show, just because I know Harry has to get off to work. One of my highlights from that show was they did this weird breakdown in the middle of Run that I'd never heard before. Just weird drum solo. And by the way, Ilan, or excuse me if I'm saying his name wrong, but Ilan, he was phenomenal on the drum. He really did. But they did this really weird breakdown in the middle of Run, and I looked to this side, and I had Kelly here, and I looked and I was like, "What is this? I've never heard this before." Then I looked over to Harry, and he looked over to me, and we just both looked at each other after it was finished, and we were like, "That was amazing." And both made the exact same facial expression, and both just stood there in just complete awe as to what we'd heard. And that was on my absolute, that was up there in my highlights of that day. And also for me, being on the rail, as Terry said, we all have our spaces, and we're all very protective of our spaces. Terry goes left, I go right. And I will probably always go right. And we have our specific individual spaces, and we line up in an order. But with Mexico City, it just kind of worked out that we were all congregating towards a corner. And we were in VIP, and it wasn't that crowded up until about 10 minutes before the start of the show, which is extremely unusual. So I had a little bit of room where you could sort of maneuver yourselves and work yourselves out. So we managed to put ourselves kind of in high order, all congregated around the corner. So we were all like 10 of us or so, just all in a very small group that you could literally put your arms around everybody. And it was the first show that I'd gone to where I'd actually managed to experience it in person, not just with one person to my left and one person to my right, but with 10 people in a group. And it was amazing. And the best bit, the second highlight for me, was getting to see Terry absolutely lose herself in some of the Shiflet solos. That was incredible. Like, that was the highlight of my night. There was a little kid also next to me who was there to see Franz Ferdinand. That was his favorite band, and we managed to share some glow sticks together, and I got to see him have the time of his life, and it was brilliant. The show was incredible, but mostly for that day, it was just more about getting to share the experience with friends rather than the actual show itself, because nothing was going to top Monterrey. That was amazing. And it was a festival, so it was a bit of a condensed set, a more of a festival geared set, so you didn't get as many of the deep cuts.
Yeah. With the now that we were talking about the set list, but one thing I really loved about the set list in Mexico City, we were just saying how it was more of a commercial set list, more like popular songs. But one thing I loved is that they played Run.
Oh yeah.
You guys are not, o sea, you will remember when they were introducing themselves in Monterrey, when they was introducing the band, they started goofing around with 10 seconds of Run. But before going to the show in Mexico City, I turned to my brother and I told him they wanted to play Run. They wanted to keep playing Run in Monterrey, and trust me, they're gonna play it tonight. And that was such a pleasant surprise because the first time I saw them on the rail in Tahoe, I was holding my phone up with Run written on it because I really love it. And I already got to see Arlantria, which is one of my favorites, and Stacked Actors. So the fact that they ended up playing Run because of a joke they did in Monterrey, I think that was so funny. And us real fans, we were just, it caught me by surprise. Even though I had the feeling, I think it caught all of us by surprise because, again, they were only playing commercial, popular, top 10 songs. And I don't know, it was a really nice surprise.
Yeah, it was good to hear it again. Run was the very first live Foo song that we heard. That they opened with that on our very first Foo concert, so it was lovely to hear it again.
I was going to say they used to open with it in the 2017, 2018 sort of period, yeah, because it's one of those songs actually. You get certain songs that when you first hear it, you're a bit nonplussed by it, but when you hear it live, you go, "Well, yeah, that's the one." That was kind of like that for me. It wasn't until I heard it live that I went, "Yeah, that song is just."
I remember when Steve initially said to me, "Oh, can you get Foo Fighter tickets?" And I went, "Foo who?" And so after I'd acquired the tickets, I thought I better listen to these guys. So I went and bought Concrete and Gold and popped it on the CD player and went. And of course, Run was the first one. And I went, "Oh, wow." And then they kind of ended with the title track, which is very Pink Floydy and proggy. And I'm going, "Oh, wow." And there was like everything in between. So I was thinking, wow. So then, when they opened with Run, they had the curtain up and the curtain dropped. And yeah, just amazing.
I was going to ask a little bit about I know it's a Foos podcast, but just a bit about the rest of the festival, really, because you sort of mentioned it. It made me laugh looking at the lineup, and it reminded me when Steve mentioned Garbage, because obviously you've got Queens who are like, their best buddies. You've got Butch Vig playing with Garbage, and then on Sunday, Weezer turn up, and who rocks up playing drums for Weezer? Josh Freese. He's got all these Foo Fighters connections dotted around the.
Didn't know that he'd jumped on the drums.
Yeah,
I'd heard.
I bet their regular drummer has had to skip a few shows, and yeah, Josh is filling in.
Oh, that must have been a bit of a weird.
This was the Sunday, right? So I guess they were.
Yeah.
I don't know how long Foo's hung around for in Mexico, but having Queens and Garbage on the lineup was what swung it for us. As I say, just a shame we didn't get to see Queens at the festival.
Yeah, because I didn't know until we got there that they were playing on split stages, and it was just a bit unfortunate that all of the sort of bands that we would generally all want to go and see were all on a different stage, and as one finished, the other one started. So you had a bit of a choice to make. Do you want to miss the start of one or miss the end of another? So I mean, I got to see a couple of the Queen's tracks, and Kim and Steve went to see Garbage. But the other bands that were on our side, Kaiser Chiefs and Franz Ferdinand, they were incredible. They were so good. I was so glad that I got to see them because they were like the band of my youth. I think the first house parties I ever had when I was 15 or 16 years old. I think we put on those albums and drank more WKDs than we probably should have done. And that was the first time that I'd ever seen them. And if it wasn't for the festival, I'm not sure if I would have ever gone to see them. But they were incredible. The festival itself, it was good. It had its challenges. I would say to anybody that's going to Mexico City, be prepared to absolutely just go with the flow. Take your instructions with a pinch of salt. Just take water. There, just take water, and you'll be good. Be prepared for signs hanging up in the wrong order, or be prepared for security to make you go round in a couple of circles to get where you needed to go. But generally, on the whole, it was a good experience. It would have just been better if there was a little bit more disclosure to the fans before buying the ticket about what everything is going to be like. And then it would have been better if there was a little bit more organization and just a little bit more communication with the fans actually at the festival. That would have been good. But I mean, it was still a fantastic show. Don't get me wrong.
When I was originally buying tickets, I didn't know anybody here, obviously. And when the lineup came up, it was like Foo Fighters and Queens of the Stone Age. I'm like, I gotta go, right?
You got to go, man.
I'm never gonna see these two together again. Like
No.
the chances are rare. Like, so like Monterrey, and then I'm looking at Mexico City. I'm like, I didn't even know what the hell I'm buying here. Like,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
the translate's not very good on
Yeah,
Ticketmaster.
right.
And I'm like, I'll probably end up with a parking ticket or something like that, and you sitting out there. So I'm like, just better stick with Monterrey here. Like, let's go with the safe bet kind of thing. And
Yeah.
next time I have the next concert checklist. It's like buy a ticket, go with the flow, take water, and don't
Take. That's it.
So, you're good with that. We'll do that next time.
Don't worry about anything else. Everybody will look after you. Everybody, you'll find 99.9% of everybody that I've met in this group has always been amazing. Everybody will save your space. Everybody will make sure that you have the best time. And we're all there for the same reason at the end of the day. So the next time you find yourself accidentally down on the rail, stay there. And if you need to go to the toilet, we'll save you space. Come find us, and then be on the rail for that show. Because that, when you get to see it that close, right in your face, that's a different experience.
It's just an amazing experience because you will always know someone at a show, and so many people are hesitant about going to a show by themselves, and it really kind of sucks when you go with someone who doesn't love the Foo Fighters as much as you do, or you're taking them to the show and maybe they know one song. And so it's really nice that you can go solo and still have so much fun. I'm from Chicago and I'm a flight attendant, and I joke around that I keep my job only so I can follow the Foo Fighters around the world. And like last summer, I scheduled my work trips around the Foo Fighters schedule. So I still need to work, but I still want to see them. So I saw them 5 times in 1 month. 3, it's while I was working, and 2, I went on my own. And you know that you're going to go somewhere and you will see all of these people at the show, and you wait in line early, and it's just an amazing experience, and it goes way far beyond just the shows. Like, we are true friends for life, and it really is just, I just love it. It's just great, and it makes the shows that much better, I think, just having all of you guys there.
Yeah.
I think Marie wanted to.
Yeah. A couple of things that have been backing up. I don't want to interrupt anyone, and I'm sorry. So the first one is that what we're saying about the family and the friends, I feel like that's the difference between the Mexico show and the Monterrey show. Because in Mexico City, yes, we got to see it together. Like, it was more about like enjoying it as a group instead of like us being like focused on like directly to the stage. I don't know if it makes sense what I'm saying, because when you're in the rail, you're looking straight up front, and being in the crowd, you want to look at everyone and you want to see everyone enjoy it. But in Monterrey, I feel like what was really beautiful is that even though we were all focusing our energy towards the stage, also like between Queens of the Stone Age and Foo Fighters, like there were a lot of Mexican fans and a lot of Monterrey local fans, and we were all just talking like, if you could choose any of the deep cuts for them to play, which one would you choose? And we were all just like goofing around, throwing crazy ideas in there. And also another thing that's really unrelated, I wanted to talk about Ilan, because the energy he brings to the band. I saw them with Josh. I was lucky enough to also see them with Taylor, Josh, and now Ilan. And one thing I wanted to say is they feel so in sync. They feel it. You can feel the connection they all have, the love they all have for each other. The way they were all looking at Ilan when he was doing a 4-minute drum solo, I was just in complete and total awe of how they all admired him so much. Like Dave was about to cry when he was looking at him. I don't know if you all noticed.
Yeah, we know it.
I just wanted to put it in there because I think it's so, like, it's their first big show with Ilan. The others have been the 30th anniversary, really small venue shows. But I just wanted to say Ilan, he's incredible. They all seem to really love each other and have amazing chemistry. And also, like, that was translated to the audience, and like we were, I don't know. I mean, we're gonna keep on going with the and the love but it's true. Like, honestly, Monterrey felt so special. Like, they could feel our energy and we could feel theirs, and it was just like this really strong connection. I don't know. It was just beautiful, and I wanted to put everything out there.
Do you think seeing him live made a difference?
Yeah, for sure. I saw videos of him when the rumor was going around that touched Nine Inch Nails and Foo Fighters with Josh. I saw a video of him and I was like, oh, this guy, he's a beast. But seeing him, I don't know, like, you could literally feel your chest pounding of how hard this man was hitting the drums.
Yeah.
Like, you were literally vibrating with the floor tom. Like, it was insane. I don't know. And you can feel, like, me and my brother were saying, like, I love Josh Freese. I'm a drummer and I think he's incredible too. But the energy that you feel with Josh, it was like there was a transitional period. And obviously, like, they all know the place Taylor has. And like, I feel like they were both really respectful of Taylor, obviously. But the way Ilan adds to, like, it doesn't feel like a transition. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like they're kind of finding themselves on a stage again and as a band again after Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Because with Josh, they all seemed like a little, not off, but not as.
Oh, you definitely noticed.
Magnetic.
Definitely noticed the difference when we saw them in Indonesia, which was obviously the first big show back they did. You could just feel the band was different. They were lighter. They did feel more connected. I mean, as I said in the previous, when I did the little review on Singapore and Indonesia, I didn't want to compare the two guys, but it just does feel different and it feels right. And and we were chatting to the guys from UK Foo Fighters the other night, and Jay was saying it feels like they've got a drummer who plays like Dave, bit of Taylor, it just feels different and more connected. And as you say, the way the guys are looking at Ilan, and when we were in, I think it was Indonesia, and he did the monkey wrench little solo.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah. As you say,
It's incredible.
the ground was vibrating like incredible. And this was a big, big stage, and we were some distance from the stage and we were still feeling it. So what it must be like to be at one of those smaller shows, just wow.
They definitely seem more relaxed.
Yes, they do seem more relaxed. They're happier.
Chris is smiling a lot.
Yeah.
Nate is smiling quite a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does seem different.
Yeah, but on Ilan as well, I don't know if anyone's read the Japanese article, the interview that they did, and I know they're going to say nice things about each other because they're all in the same room and whatever, but just the way that Dave talks about him in that article and the words that I can't remember the exact words he used, but you can just tell he's found another kindred spirit there, which it kind of comes across, doesn't it? So
Yes.
any final thoughts on Mexico before we wrap up for?
Just really pleased we went.
Yeah.
Hang out with all these guys.
Absolutely.
See Foos, and yeah, it's bring on June.
Yeah, more memories that we'll cherish forever, I think. Yeah. Amazing place. Absolutely loved it. I was a little bit apprehensive about Mexico City as a place just in general from stuff I'd heard, but my experience of Mexico City was just incredible. It's definitely on my list of places to go back to And you'll either find me at a Foos gig or in the heart of Parque, Mexico, which is one of my new happy places I can add to my list of international happy places. So I absolutely love Mexico, and the new drummer, it's just breathtaking. It's absolutely breathtaking. I mean, I love Josh, and will be forever super thankful for the role that Josh has played in bringing our band back to life after what had happened. I'll always be thankful for him. But for me, a drummer is somebody that sits behind the kit and smashes the absolute hell out of it. I need the crazy hair flying. I need the sweat pouring off their faces. I need to see the sticks smashing into everything. I need sticks going flying. And boy, he brought that, and he brought more than that. He was singing on almost every song. Have memories of him bringing the mics down around with his sticks, singing along, sending it back the other way, carrying on. At one point, I think he had 3 sticks, one caught up in his beard, and the other 2 over here, and mic stand over. And that for me is a drummer. Like, I need chaos behind the kit, but chaos, but perfectly timed. And that guy didn't miss a beat. He was incredible, and I look forward to seeing more shows with him for sure.
Great stuff. Anyone else with any chip in before we wrap up?
Yeah, me. I'm just really grateful I met all of you guys. Like, I was already planning on going to the shows, and I knew some of the 606ers were going to be there. So I'm just really glad we had such a special connection and a really, really incredible group of people to share this whole thing with. I love you guys. No, it was, you guys are key to the entire experience, both in Mexico City and in Monterrey. And also, I want to put it out to the listeners. If you have a chance of coming to any show, regardless, Foo Fighters, not Foo Fighters, in Mexico City, the crowd is insane. We throw beer, we jump, we dance, we scream, we push each other, but it's with such passion, you don't even care. You're drenching in beer. And also, Mexico City is becoming one of the big hubs for festivals and concerts, and everyone's starting to come. So the best thing I can say to everyone listening is that take your chances, come on the trip. You'll fall in love with the audience here, and enjoy, dance, go with the flow, as Nick said. Drink water.
Drink water.
Yeah. Hug the people around you. So yeah.
Great stuff.
I got to look at the list of what's coming up here. I'm going to Vancouver and Edmonton for sure next year, but Chicago, yeah, that's going to be on there. It definitely doesn't suck when the Foos are taking along Queens of the Stone Age. I mean, that one's like a highlight for me. Is like, whoa, like 2 in a row, like doesn't get any better than that, right? So, and they totally complemented each other. It was like 2 totally different shows and 2 super good vibes, right? So, yeah, meeting all you guys, but yeah. I got to look at my list and figure out my plans for the rest of the year.
Well, thanks everyone. Thanks very much for your time. It's great to chat to everyone, and thanks to Kim for rounding up the crew as well to do this. So, yeah.
Thanks for having us, Dan.
I'm not finished. The song's not over yet. There's more. Just a little bit.
So that was a roundup of the Foo Fighters' recent shows in Mexico from some of the guys that were there. As I said, a bit of a long episode this week, but it was all good stuff. And the guys, just gave us a really good flavour of what went on over there. And it was so lovely to hear the sense of community between them all as well. As I said, also, thanks to Kim, who you've heard on here a few times, she rounded the troops together to come on and talk to us about it and share their experiences. Love these group call-in episodes and promise we'll do more of these in the new year, especially with all the shows that we've got coming up. So that's it for this week. Thanks again for listening to Foos Files. Hope you have a great week, And before you go, just a reminder to please leave us a rating and review on your favourite podcast app if you're enjoying the show. It really does mean a lot. Take care and see you next time.